I now have full control of your screen.
The nose is a fine instrument. Wouldn't you agree? It has multiple functions. It's a useful tool and can detect danger or tell you which foods are safe to eat. It keeps us alive with every breath we take in. Although it comes natural to us, it's just our lungs expanding and contracting. It doesn't occur to us the capability it holds, its potential. What if I told you there's superhumans roaming the earth that can maintain a breathing pattern that changes their body temperatures, slow down their heart rate and metabolism? And if you think that they're the only ones with this ability, you have another thing coming. Because there's something strange in the way your breathing pattern affects your body and your mind. Now let's dig deep
And embrace the strange.
You've entered a different dimension. You have no control in what you see and what you hear. Within the next few minutes, you will escape from the illusion you call reality and encounter something strange. We usually don't realize this, but if it wasn't for our two lungs working to their full capacity every hour of every day, none of us would be alive right now. See, breathing is an action that's so important to survival, yet it goes completely unnoticed every day. But it's vital. Stress, insomnia, panic attacks. There isn't anything that breathing can't help with. Since the beginning of time, different religions and cultures have tried to bring attention on the importance of breathing properly. In Buddhism, Hinduism, and even in Greek philosophy, breath and the act of breathing is presented as some sort of divine manifestation that holds the answers to all our problems. Sadly, the world we live in is so fast-paced that we don't have the time to meditate and breathe as a spiritual practice like our ancestors. But just because we've let go of this ancient art of using breathing for more than just survival doesn't mean that it doesn't have the capacity to do more. Even modern research has shown that breathing has unusual effects over the human mind. Controlling your breathing allows you to reach a state of well-being that isn't attainable otherwise. But it isn't just the breath of oxygen that's important. It's how we breathe and where from. Research has shown a high percentage of people are mouth breathers. Mouth breathing is the cause of many conditions such as dry mouth, sleep apnea, change in the facial structure, illness, and the list can keep going and going. See, in a single breath, more molecules of air will pass through your nose than all the grains of sand on all the world's beaches. Trillions and trillions of them. For the past 13.8 billion years, this wayward matter has been split apart by sunlight, spread throughout the universe, and come back together again. To breathe is to absorb ourselves in what surrounds us, to take in little bits of life, understand them, and give pieces of ourselves back out. Respiration is, at its core, reciprocation, and respiration through the nose is essential, for many ways, for so many reasons. For starters, our bodies operate most efficiently in state of balance, pivoting between action and relaxation, daydreaming and reasoned thought. This balance is influenced by the nasal cycle and some say may even be controlled by it. Believe it or not, each nostril has a unique function when taking in oxygen. The right nostril is the gas pedal, so to speak. When you're inhaling primarily through this channel, circulation speeds up, your body gets hotter, and cortisol levels, blood pressure, and heart rate all increase. This happens because breathing through the right side of the nose activates the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight mechanism that puts the body in a more elevated state of alertness and readiness. Breathing through the right nostril will also feed more blood to the opposite hemisphere of the brain, specifically to the prefrontal cortex, which has been associated with logical decisions, language, and computing. Now, the left nostril works as a kind of brake system to the right nostril's accelerator. The left nostril is more deeply connected to the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and relax side that lowers temperature and blood pressure. cools the body and reduces anxiety. Left nostril breathing shifts blood flow to the opposite side of the prefrontal cortex, the right area that plays a role in creative thoughts, emotions, formation of mental abstractions, and negative emotions. In 2015, researchers at the University of California, San Diego recorded the breathing patterns of a schizophrenic woman over the course of 3 consecutive years and found that she had a significantly greater left nostril dominance. This breathing habit they hypothesized was likely overstimulating the right side, the creative part of her brain, and as a result, prodding her imagination to run amok. Over several sessions, the researchers taught her to breathe through her right logical nostril, and she experienced far fewer hallucinations. It has been mentioned also that nasal breathing is the great secret of life. See, in Eastern cultures, they have regaled the wonders of nasal breathing for millennia. It wasn't until the 19th century that much of the Western population got wind of this, due to an adventurous George Catlin. Catlin spent 6 years traveling thousands of miles throughout the Great Plains, covering more distance than Lewis and Clark to document the lives of 50 Native American tribes. Now, this gentleman went up the Missouri to live with the Lakota Sioux. He met with the Pony, Omaha, Cheyenne, and Blackfeet. Now, this gentleman went up the Missouri to live with the Lakota Sioux. He met with the Pony, Omaha, Cheyenne, and Blackfeet. Along the banks of the upper Missouri, he happened upon the civilization of the Mandan, a mysterious tribe whose members stood 6 feet tall and lived in bubble-shaped houses. Many had luminous blue eyes and snow-white hair. Now, Catlin realized that nobody really knew about the Mandan or other Plain tribes because no one of European descent had bothered to spend time talking to them, researching them, living with them, and learning about their beliefs and traditions. Having never seen a dentist or doctor, the tribal people had teeth that were perfectly straight and, quote, as regular as the keys of a piano, end quote. Nobody seemed to get sick, and deformities nor any chronic health problems appeared rare or non-existent. The tribes attributed their vigorous health to medicine, what Catlin called the great secret of life. The secret was breathing. The Native Americans explained to Catlin that breath inhaled through the mouth sapped the body of strength, deformed the face, and caused stress and disease. On the other hand, breath inhaled through the nose kept the body strong, made the face beautiful, and prevented disease. See, when you breathe through the mouth, the muscles in the cheeks have to work harder and become taut. When these muscles tauten, an external force is exerted on both the upper and lower jaw. The more frequently you breathe through the mouth, the greater the influence of these forces, which eventually can narrow the shape of the face as well as the dental arches. Having a more narrow face and dental arches could mean there's less room in the mouth to accommodate the tongue, which drops down to the floor of the mouth instead of resting against the roof of the mouth. This also makes the tongue more susceptible to sliding back into the airway when you lie down, which can cause a sleep breathing disorder, such as sleep apnea. As for the facial structure, the tongue dropping down into the floor of the mouth hinders mid-face development, which normally is pushed outward by the tongue when correctly positioned. Children who breathe through the mouth are more likely to develop facial structures that are long, narrow, have less prominent jaws, and a retracted chin. This creates an undesirable facial profile that may create self-esteem issues in a child. Mark Bohan, a dentist and sleep researcher in North Carolina, had been studying the links between mouth breathing and sleep. He found that mouth breathing contributed to periodontal disease and bad breath, and he also believed it was a #1 cause of cavities, even more damaging than sugar consumption, bad diet, or poor hygiene. Bohan also found that mouth breathing was both a cause of and contributor to snoring and sleep apnea. He recommended that his patients tape their mouth shut at night. He mentions nose breathing has many health benefits. One of the many benefits is that the sinuses release a huge boost of nitric oxide, a molecule that plays an essential role in increasing circulation and delivering oxygen into cells. Immune functions, weight, circulation, mood, and sexual function can all be heavily influenced by the amount of nitric oxide in the body. Nasal breathing alone can boost nitric oxide sixfold, which is one of the reasons we can absorb about 18% more oxygen than by just breathing through the mouth. Not only does it have many benefits, what if I told you that you have the power to heat your body to withstand temperatures of -degrees by simply using breathing techniques? I mean, in a monastery in northern India, these thinly clad Tibetan monks, they sit quietly in a room where the temperatures are a chilly 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Using a yoga technique known as Jitumo, they enter a state of deep breathing meditation. Other monks soaked 3 by 6 foot sheets in cold water and placed them over the meditator's shoulder. For untrained people, such frigid wrappings would produce uncontrolled shivering. Not these monks. The meditators sit on the ground, cross-legged and naked. Sheets are dipped in the icy water. Each man wraps himself in one of them and must dry it on his body. As soon as the sheet has become dry, it is again dipped in the water and placed on the novice's body to be dried as before. The operation goes on in that fashion until daybreak. Then he who has dried the largest number of sheets is acknowledged the winner of the competition. Besides drying wet sheets on one's body, there exist various other tests to ascertain the degree of heat which the neophyte is able to radiate. One of these tests consists in sitting in the snow. Now, the quantity of snow melted under the man and the distance at which it melts around him are taken as measures of this ability. I mean, it goes to show how much control you have over your body with just breathing. I mean, for an act that barely takes a second. Breathing is not just essential to living, it's also essential for us to connect with our inner selves. Not only does breathing control physical aspects of our body, it also is a great way for us to de-stress and find comfort within our own selves without exerting our energies. The human body is in a state of breathing at all times, but once we learn how to use this passive act in a much more holistic, spiritual way like our ancestors, there are bound to be radical shifts in our mental, physical, and spiritual well-being. The long-lasting effects of breathing mindfully, they have the ability to completely transform the way we live our lives.